Hello everyone, hope you guys are doing great. I'm out here on my day off in the fig garden, and I want to make a quick video about how I go about pruning some of my potted fig trees. I've got about 57 varieties. Not all of them are potted, some of them are in ground, but I wanted to go on ahead and make a video to show you guys the logic and reason behind how I prune my figs. And I know this is a topic that many people debate about, but to be honest with you, I will only show you guys the techniques that have worked for me and not ones that I've read about and not implemented in the past. Okay, so a lot of people prefer the single leader method because it makes a stronger, better trunk and a stronger overall plant. But here in Zone 7B, Virginia, we do get winters, but the winters are not as harsh as they might be in Zone 6 or other zones in the United States. So what I'm going to show you applies primarily to people that do get a winter, but maybe not a winter as harsh as maybe like upstate New York or something like that. Okay. All right, so let's begin here with the first potted tree that I have, and this one is the Piatto Gigante. So it's a little bit of a rare variety, I believe, but one that has not yielded fruit for me just yet. So for a fig like this, what I'm after is I always look at the natural growth pattern of the fig itself. So the fig will have a natural predisposition to either grow as a bush or a single leader. This does not mean that you cannot force it to grow however you like, as a single leader or as a bush, whatever you prefer, right? But I always try to follow the natural inclination that the fig has to grow in a specific way. And I'll show you much better examples than this. This one is actually 50-50. It could go both ways. But I'll show you some other examples where the fig is predominantly a bush or predominantly a single leader. So here we go. As you guys can see here, this was covered in wax last year, and this is where the cutting was initially buried in this pot, so it would grow. This, of course, has dried off. I'm not going to cut it off here. This is pointless. I'll let it naturally fall off as it usually does. But you can see the wax that it was wrapped in, so it wouldn't get infected and dry and so forth. Now, for a fig like this, I absolutely love the triangular symmetric pattern that it has, but unfortunately, I'm fairly certain that this branch will not make it. It is not lignified enough, and it will certainly freeze probably sometime this month or next month, and we're going to get dieback all the way to here. As a matter of fact, I would even argue that 2/3 of this branch will also die back because they're not exactly that hardened yet. And possibly 50% or more of this branch will also harden. Now, I'm not going to cut these back here because I do not know for sure what winter will be like. But I do know that no matter how mild winter will be, this little guy here is definitely not going to make it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on ahead and cut it all the way down, something like that. And just get rid of that. And of course, I'm not going to throw these out. I'm going to go ahead and make cuttings with these. And the way that I do that is I take a little Ziploc baggie and I put in my cutting like so. Try to do this thing one-handed is not easy. All right. Then I take a little tag, which I should have here in my pocket somewhere, and I write on today's date and what this thing is, and I'll just put that in the baggie. That way I know for sure what it is. And then much later on, possibly today or tomorrow, I'll go on ahead and show you guys how I propagate these. But for now, I'm just going to leave that right there so as to not carry it with me. Now, the overall shape of the fig currently is not affected that much because We're definitely going to have regrowth from here. Not that I really care too much about that, but we're going to have regrowth. And what I really am looking for is that this thing does bush out enough, but it doesn't bush out much more than the diameter of the pot, because there would be a nuisance to walk around and get, get rubbing against the fig branches. Okay, so this is just one example. Now let's have a look at another example of a fig that definitely prefers to grow as a as a multi-branched bush. Okay, so let's move here to the right to the Neri. Now I have two completely different sources of Neri. The first one is an in-ground fig, and it definitely prefers to grow as a bush. We see this from the fractal pattern of each individual branch, which creates sub-branches from a very early stage on. You can see here, there's a branch here, and a branch here, and a branch here, and then there's a main branch here. And then another source of the Neri, a completely different seller, and this one is potted, by the way. We can see here that this is absolutely multi-branched and grows exactly as a bush. And by no means does this thing grow as a single leader, not by a long shot. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take cuttings, and I'm going to separate these cuttings out. And I want to show you guys what I would do to make sure that we have not just viable cuttings, but also the best chance of shaping this guy for the future. A little branch like this, for the same reason that I explained earlier, first of all, this branch is competing in place with this main branch, and it does not stand a chance at all. And we can see that there's dieback here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's dieback already. So this is not exactly the strongest branch that we could possibly be growing. For some odd reason, it didn't do so well here earlier on in this growing season, whereas these other two branches did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this back all the way, like so. And I can see that this thing is hardly alive. Very little life force. Oops. What am I showing? Very little life force left in this fig, but we're still going to try and propagate it. We have nothing to lose. Okay. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for this other branch here. Now, this other branch is full of life force. Absolutely full of life force. But unfortunately, it's in the way. It comes out, and it doesn't serve our cause, our purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this branch. It's about maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet long, quite a long branch. So we could probably get 1 or 2 cuttings off of this. I count the cuttings by nodes, not by length. So to me, this looks like it's approximately a cutting and a half, or maybe 2 cuttings. Okay. All right. So another thing we can do is perhaps get rid of this branch here, and the reason is I want to leave enough space if we get any kind of branching from here this coming year, that it does not compete with this branch here. So I'm going to go on ahead and cut this about there, just in case we get another branch from right here that will fill this place. And that way we get our 3+ cuttings for the Neri, for the for the in-ground Neri. And I'm going to go on ahead and leave those there for a minute until I, do a couple of more trees, or maybe one more tree actually, and then I will come back and grab those, and I'll make a separate video on the different propagation techniques that I use depending on the time of the year that I'm propagating the specific cultivar. Okay. Now, mind you, despite all our effort, we cannot predict the weather, so all of these branches that we are leaving on the tree could very well go and die back all the way to the base, and that is okay. That is okay. I've never lost an in-ground or potted fig tree because of the weather. I have lost many fig trees due to putting them in greenhouses. Pretty much every single tree that I've ever put in a greenhouse over the winter is dead. Last year I lost 17 different cultivars, and the only 17 that I lost were the ones that I put in greenhouses. These are not the walk-in greenhouses. They're the small mini plastic ones that are used just set up temporarily in the wintertime. The temperature does rise quite a lot in there. I mean, it might even go in the 80s and 90s. But unfortunately, that's not what kills the figs. It is the fungus gnats that kills them, because there is a population overgrowth of fungus gnats in there, and they attack the roots, and you're pretty much guaranteed to lose all of them. At least that's been my experience. All right, let's move on to one more. And this one here, let's see which one this is. All right, this one, oh yeah, this one is the yellow longneck. Now, this is the only yellow longneck that I have. It is an in-ground tree, and I believe that you could grow the yellow longneck either as a single leader, as shows from this really long, about maybe a little more than 3 foot branch, or you could also grow it as a multi-branched, because it exhibits characteristics of both. I think it would be more beneficial to grow it as a multi-branch, if you have the space, of course. But a single leader is fine too. A lot of vigor in this one, a lot of life here, and a lot of places we can take very good cuttings. Now in this case, I'm going to cut out every single branch that I believe is not going to make it over winter. So anything that is about pencil thickness has to go. And I see several of these, right? So even though they're still full of leaves and quite green, I'm still going to go on ahead and cut these back and see if we can at least get some cuttings off these. And I'll come back and I will harvest these and propagate them. Some of these that are extremely thin, such as these really skinny ones, I'm still going to save them just in case. You never know. I mean, I've propagated cuttings that are like an inch long, and they still somehow manage to produce entire trees. They just need a little more babying than usual. So all of these cuttings, guys, these little cuttings, I'm going to go ahead and cut. Another thing that I personally do not like is I don't like things that are not symmetric. So for example, this branch is, it's a very beautiful branch, by the way. This would make an amazing air layer. I wish I could show it a little bit better, but yeah, this branch would make an amazing air layer. But for right now, that is not what I need, and I'm going to go on ahead and cut it all the way to the base and see if I can just propagate this normally. And yeah, this also helps thin out our tree and perhaps reinvigorate it a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for this one. The only reason I'm cutting this branch is because it is crossing over the branch behind it. So this branch has to go. That way we open up the core just a little bit. Kind of need to look into the future really and see what future shape you would like to give your tree. Finally, I will do the same thing for this branch here, because it kind of is in the middle. And now we have opened this up to a bush style growth pattern. So, all right, I'm gonna leave it there just before I take these cuttings inside and prepare them for propagation. I'll make another video for that, so this video isn't like 2 hours long. I want to show you guys our main project that will be on sculpting our tree, and that will, as I mentioned before, will be the white Marseille fig, which is this one here. Just a lot that we can say about this fig, a lot that we can do with this fig. This fig, despite any argument that I will ever hear from anyone, has a 100% bush style growth pattern. This does not mean that you cannot force it to be a single leader. You can force it to do whatever you want. You can force this thing to have the shape of the Statue of Liberty if you wanted to, but ultimately the natural inclination of this tree is to be a bush style tree, and it does amazingly well growing that way. And I will show you guys how I prune this tree, how I sculpt it so that it is beautiful, but also it is healthy, super healthy actually, and produces massively thick branches and an insane amount of figs. So many figs that you really cannot consume them, and you either have to give them away or make jam and preserves and other things out of them. That's how many figs this thing produces. And by the way, the White Marseille is the youngest of the 3 trees that you see in a row. This one is the youngest, and you can see, of course, the vigor of this tree is just unmatched. But anyway, this video is not about this tree. We will make a separate video about this one, and I'll show you guys how I go about to sculpt it and how I prune it for maximum production, but we'll do that in another video. Well, thank you all for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for further videos on how we're going to be propagating the few cuttings that we took just now from the trees earlier. All right, thanks again, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.